Hello, everyone. Thank you for standing in that long line. And well, the weather is beautiful today, but I really appreciate it. Hi, my name is Jihyun Chung. I'm a business development manager in Google Play. In my daily job, I work with Korean developers based in Seoul. And internally, I lead a team of other BDs to help you guys do more better in your Go Global efforts, more focused on apps. In this session, I will talk about the opportunities of the APAC markets, especially focusing on Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia. You saw it on the title, but we'll be also talking about Taiwan and Hong Kong. And we will talk about the users in that market, also about experiences from other developers, success stories, and the tips and Google tools that you can go back home and start implementing right away. So I'm not the first one telling you this, but Google Play is truly a global platform, and you can reach almost anywhere in the world with Google Play. I would like to start with a quote that I really love. We hear developers say that Google Play has fundamentally changed the way how they do business. And in the case of Smart Study, the CEO gave this wonderful quote. They opened doors through Play, but went on beyond Play to maybe to YouTube and to retail presence and so on. So Google Play just was the trigger to expand their business globally. It's like, I don't know if you know this animation. There's a Japanese character who has this magical door where he opens it. He can basically enter any place that he wants to go. I feel that Google Play is that door for you. You could open and go into any market that you want to go. And today, we're going to open the markets to APAC. The Asian market is the single largest market that we have on Play. According to App Annie, the countries that I will cover today, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Southeast Asia, they make the 50% of total revenue in the mobile app business. That's basically the half of the market. So does this portion resonate with your business? No, yes and no. If it doesn't, this may mean this much more opportunity of your business to grow. Not only APAC is all about revenue, it's about huge growth and install base. Again, according to App Annie, we see that the install growth rate, especially in Southeast Asia, is 54% higher than that of the global average. It's really a great growth that we're seeing in these APAC markets. But the reality is not that easy. It's not rosy. How many of you know all the games that you see on this screen? It's a screenshot that I took from Korean top grossing chart ranking yesterday. Do you recognize the games? Anyone? Well, as you can see, there aren't many global titles that you easily recognize from. Let's move on to Japan. I took it on the same day. Do you see any duplicates? Can you recognize? It's kind of difficult, right? Actually, there's one, and not a lot of global titles, again. What this means is local developers are really dominating these markets. So a really tough competition there. And does this sound like a barrier? Does this discourage you? Well, we think that one of the human errors that we easily make is we make conclusions too fast, even we don't know the full information to base up that conclusion. So today, let's talk about what would be the key levers to move the needles in APAC markets. And let's have it and take it on your business and really explore together what could work better for you. So what makes it so different? Before I go into the details, let me ask you a quick question. How many of you are game developers? Raise your hand. Okay, a little less than I expected. How many of you are non-game developers, app developers? Great, okay. And some of you are just in between. That's good. If you're starting and if you're quitting, that's still fine. There is an old Asian Confucius saying that if 3 people walk together, at least one of them is my teacher. Meaning, if it doesn't directly applies to your business, take a learning from there, understand what is behind that logic, and take it into your business. We can learn from, apps developers can learn from games. Games can also learn from apps. So let's do that. Let's have that mindset together. So on the very basic, when we talk about going global, very easy pitfalls that developers fall into would be, they think it's okay enough to build an app that works well on their country, which could be making sense because if you're just going to the local market, that's fine. But if you're going to the global market, this is totally a different story. You have to be aware that infrastructure is very much different, connectivity, device, and even with the mature markets, the device situation might be very much different. For example, I'm from Korea. Koreans love big screens. We call them phablets. And the economy could be different, even if the market seems good. So the purchasing power of users are different. And sometimes, even though all these other technical themes seem okay, content policy could be something that could hold your service from really going into that market. And app market size itself and the maturity of the app market is one of the things that you should consider before going global. But I'm not going to go into details on this because we have a wonderful session coming right after this. It's Building for Billions, happening on stage 5. So after this, if you're interested in more in building for emerging markets, go to stage 5 and check that out. So back to what makes Asian different. We just love different characters. And we love the characters in a way a little bit different from Western culture. Of course, there are loyal fans of characters everywhere, but in Asia, it's more like it's embedded to our lives. This is an example of Pokemon game from the Pokemon company. And as you can see, just imagine from the structure, the game itself is something that you might easily understand what the logic is. But this game is a hit, and the users love it because they love the Pokemon. And another difference between Western and Eastern is about the high context culture. This may have started from Chinese characters conveying a lot of meanings in single words. This is Mixie's Monster Strike, and their promotional images from, on the left side, Japan, on the right side, global. This is so apparent difference, right? For Japanese users, if you give them the screen on the right, they would feel like something is missing or this is foreign. But if on the Western eyes, if you see the image on the left side, you would think like, oh, they need a designer. So keep that in mind, and I want you to pay a close attention to this part, the live operation. Have any of you heard about the live operation? Raise your hand if you have. Oh, good. Yeah. I will take simple examples of live operations to give you an idea. It's basically a stage of app that evolves with the user interaction. One of the early stage of live operation would be live chatting with users through Game Master, aka GMs. Game developers, you would know what it is. You have an account within the game and a chatting system within the game, and Game Master reaches out to users asking, I think you're enjoying this game, but you could even enjoy this game even more if you do this. Or they get their feedback. Like somebody would say, well, this game is getting kind of boring after stage 43. And then the game master could understand and take that and implement it in a way that could be more interesting to users. It's a very good way of engaging with the users. Recently, the successes we have seen in live operation is the collaboration with the IPs. This, again, is the example from Mix's Monster Strike. They partner with Japan's long-loved character, Evangelion, and they took the world of Evangelion and placed it in the game, and users, they just love it. And this is what keeps the users engaging and keeps new user inflow, even though game has been out there for more than several months. And live operations are doing events at the right moment, at the right time. You see, this is a revenue graph from an actual developer based in Korea and Japan. And you see a lot of spikes. That is not usual for other markets. And this is because we have direct carrier billing, which has a cap that refreshes on the first day of the month. So people are now, they have a budget that they can spend more on. And as you can see, the spike gets even bigger and bigger because developers who really do the live operations right take the moment and give the best of events and promotions that users cannot say no to. And it's the time where they have a willingness to pay, full willingness to pay. A good example would be the Marvel Future Fight. I love this game. I've been having so much time finding the characters I love. In this game, they had a promotion on the Black Friday. You might have done similar stuffs already. And they announced with a really nice deal, and they saw 869% increase in revenue compared to the previous day, and which means they're creating the spikes. And in a game, if you want to keep the lifetime of the game longer and longer, these spikes are really necessary to keep the revenue going. It means that users are engaging back to your service or game. So what I told you was about the differences between somewhat Western and Eastern cultures. Now I will talk about even more differences among the APEC countries. So this is the icon screenshot of Japan and Korea. Can you feel the difference? Yeah. So in our team, we would say, if they don't have a nose, it's a Japanese icon. If they have a nose and it's a woman and they're very slim and beautiful, it's usually Korean. So there's the users like different type of images. And they even like different type of gameplays. For Korean, it's more about PvP, meaning one-on-one battles. And for Japan, it's not that people don't enjoy PvP. It's more like Japanese users prefer collaborative play a little more. So to give you a better idea, let me show you, and it's a good clips, of their TV commercials showing this difference. This is Korean game, Netmarbles
감각적 액션, 강력한
It's based
무기,
on one PvP play.
위대한 전사까지. 이제 시작해볼까? 스타일리시 듀얼 액션 RPG. 상대가 되겠어? You are in Cone.
So the video is very much focused on single person, right? And let's take a look at Mixie's TV commercial. Now you see a lot of people to begin with. And they have incorporated this culture of Matsuri, which is festival, within the game to show that this is sort of a game that you can take the feeling of Matsuri into your phone and experience that collaborative play. So it is so different even among the APAC market. So what you have to do No, I'm not trying to discourage you. What I'm trying to tell you is you need to understand there could be even more differences in the markets where you don't know. And if you explore a little more, you'll be able to see and pick up this kind of little subtle differences that works well in these markets. Let's explore what you can actually do better in APAC markets. I'll try to break down into 4 sections. First 3 is more like a process. You have to understand your market, plan it, and go. And second, we will talk about how to better localize the app. And third, I will explain a little bit more in depth about live operation and how you would want to do operations in that local country. And lastly, we will tell you about what you can use from Google's tools to make this more easier for you. These are seasonings, images of seasonings sold in Southeast Asia market. So if you want to casually cook for yourself one of like exotic dishes, you could just follow the recipe and put everything that they tell you to do. But if you want to be a cook, and if you want to sell your dish, you really have to understand the ingredients that goes within. So in this part, I'll tell you about a little bit of facts and some of the insights of the APAC market. And before we move on to that, before knowing what is out there, you have to know your intentions. What is your priority? What's more important to you? Is it revenue or is it install? This makes difference in which countries that you will want to focus first. For Japan and Korea, it's a country with a lot of revenue and great number of installs. But the cost of marketing is very high. Contrary to that, Southeast Asia, it has huge install potential and the cost of marketing is low. So if your priority is clearly on the either side, check. It's an easy decision you can make. But if you want to go to everywhere, try Taiwan and Hong Kong. They have users with high ARPPU, average spending per spending users, and they're very much loyal. So if you want to test out your service or game, these markets could be a good place to start with. Now, when we talk about Southeast Asia market, we're talking about these 6 key markets: Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. And we talked about installs, but they do make a sizable revenue in Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. And since we have the map, I did a little dot drawing across of what type of game category works best in each region. And it was interesting because on the northern side of these countries, we see hardcore RPGs doing really well. On the below, we see more of a diverse type of game doing well. This could be due to several reasons. It could be due to the device performance, but this is how it is. And the other thing that I've tried doing was to color based on what messenger platform works best for each region. I thought I would see some dominant color, but it betrayed me, and there's a lot of diverse colors in this map, which means if you want to use the best out of each platforms, you may have to think about having strategies for each market, multiple builds. But we have prepared Play Game Service and Google Sign-In that you can use in all these countries. So if you want to scale your business, you can use our social logins. And prepare your app from the start. Material design works well. Prepare to have your app strings separated so that you could easily update. And system elements are really different among these countries. And if you haven't taken them out, users might feel the service foreign. Few examples: material design. Asian users are already very much educated in how the material design is and how Android form factors play in. So you don't have to teach the users how to use the app if you use basic structure of the material design. And I told you about separating the app strings because language is all different. Even for Taiwan and Hong Kong, they use traditional Chinese. But if you want to have voice control or if you have audio content, they speak the different Chinese, Cantonese and Mandarin. In Indonesia, Bahasa works really well if you want to pick up the performance. And on the system element side, if a dating app asked me, I'm born and raised in Korea, and they ask me, how tall are you in feet and inches? I can't answer because I don't know. I know that I'm 167 centimeters high, but I don't know it in feet. So if you give that to Asian users, what you're most used to in US, that doesn't work that way. So please be prepared that the units will be different. Also, same with the days. Now we touched a brief about ingredients. You can always learn more on yourself. So let's talk about the cooking, localization. So when it comes to localization, we say that it is a process for those who are just starting to localize. If you're already an expert, just go dive into it. But if you're starting to do a localization, this could be in a process. So start simple. Just try using auto translation in your app description, because just by doing that is opening your front door to the new users and inviting them to come in. And if you think you see some actions or responses from that market, now you can start getting more serious. Let them know that you are starting to care for them in their market by translating your app. And in the third phase, you have to really go in and operate in local language in a native voice. In the Play Store, you can localize the trailer, icon, title, description, and key images. And this may sound easy, or this may sound very difficult to some of you, but there are developers who do it in a perfection. This is Polaris Office from Korea and their app promotional screen in Japan. My Japan colleague, Evan, right over there, he told me that it's hard for Japanese to even think about that this app is not from a Japanese developer, because they reached to a point of perfection. If you see in the image, they show the examples within the app in Japanese. And that sort of detail can lead users to feel more attached to the service. And on the Cookpad side, they not only localize the store listings in the language, they localize with the local food content. So they would show the food that the local users would most love. And if you want to see the impact, 1Password, I've worked with the team. It's a Canadian team. I love the team. And it only took them 2 weeks to finish up their localization because they had it ready in their app strings. And right after that, they saw a 100% increase in install in Korean market. I think this is something that is easy for you to make decision on. But not all services are utility or it's simple, but just think that how much potential it brings once you just start localizing. So when to choose between single and multiple builds? If your app is targeting more to, we saw the social services before, the specific market service, you should think about building multiple builds. But then it means more resources, engineering resources needed for you. But the service and the content will be much more tailored to local users. If you want to keep the scale of it, single build is your answer. And even within the single build, you can still localize the business model. The alarm clock app, they have a lot of in-app items. They place the strategy differently among the regions. So for example, in Japan, they have 35 paid items. In contrary to Southeast Asian markets, they only have 15. But the ads frequency is very high in that market. So balance up your monetization strategy based on the country. And sub-dollar pricing works. We have enabled sub-dollar pricing in 18 countries in Google Play. And in those countries, I told you about the economy and the purchasing power of each country. And in some of the countries, $1 doesn't mean a single item. It means like your day's wage. So in that countries, lower your prices, and then you not only get more revenue, you get more engaging users. And if you're interested on earning money on Play, we have a session prepared 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's early, I know, it's the last day, but this is worth your time. Please go and check out. Okay, so you have understood the market, you have your app ready in perfect localization. Now, what's your next step? What do you have to do? Now you have to really dive into that sea, to that ocean with a high tide. Operate your app with the local voice. So Dominations by Nexon, they communicate with users in Japanese when they leave response in the reviews. And coming back to the Mixes case on live operation, let me give you a little more detail about what they did. So on the first round of collaboration with Evangelion, they had 3-4 characters into the balls, which is the key of the game. And they created 4 stages that reflect the world in the animation. And they saw the record-breaking high number of users who simultaneously play the game, which is important for collaborative play games. And on the second round, they did it after 6 months. They even saw more higher engagement in users. The record was broken again. And this is how you start engaging users back to your service, even you've already have a collaboration again. And one other thing is, I did this with my Korean developers together. In Taiwan, there was a trend sometime, some of you may know this already. So like women would stand at the back on the wall with their back, and the guy will be hitting the wall, protecting or like getting onto the woman. And the hitting the wall was like a buzzword in Taiwan. And Korean developers caught this, and they created an in-app item specially for Taiwan market. And the result, users loved it. They saw 2 times more install just right after launching these new in-app items. And sometimes acquisition really helps. Cookpad acquired a lot of communities and startups in recipe and the cook service content business. And it was one of the most effective way of expanding their boundaries so quickly and taking users from that countries. This is the case from Netmarble's Future Fight. When they went into Taiwan, they did the marketing that works in that region. So they did mobile UA, TVC, Rapping Bus, which probably isn't familiar to many of you. And they did a lot of consumer exhibition and events to engage more with the users. They invested. This case is Evil Vein with Netmarble. You could also collaborate with local celebrities or local influencers. In that way, users feel that through the local celebrity's image, that game or app service is more relevant to you. Alarman did a really creative CPG collaboration with a juice bottle. They had a QR code in the juice leading to the website where it showed about the app. And after this, they saw 2 times the growth in that market. By now, I hope you have the chance to think about what you could start trying and what you could implement in your market. Let me tell you about the Google tools. If you're at the first stage of going global, use the APK translation service in our developer console. It is not a perfect quality, but it is good enough for the local eyes. And we recently announced that if you have a local pricing, we now round up the currency to something that makes more sense in the local market. and you could price it in a way that you want. But the thing you have to keep in mind is always launch, test, and iterate the process to see what really works for your region. And you can do this through analyzing the users in conversion funnel in the developer console. Now you can see by the countries which country had the most install and the conversion rate of that country was how much. And you can also analyze the ratings by the country and understand what is wrong with certain countries. Even we translate the feedbacks for you in your language. And a case that I want to share is Creative Bombs Botu. It's a very pretty pink dolphin, kids app, lovely. But one day they saw a huge drop in user rating in Philippines. That is after they launched. And one of the user feedback was that Boto meant something bad in Philippines. So they took the response from that review and changed the name to Botu. And after that, they're doing great in Philippines. And do a lot of store listing experiments. You can A/B test your icons, your app description, your trailers. Tell you a case about Monster Strike's international expansion. They tested their icon. This is the winner. They also tested the app descriptions, like the key description messages. And they tested the screenshot and the video. In a way, they plan to see the maximum efforts. And after this, they saw 60% increase in conversion before and after the test. And in a world where the marketing cost and cost per install is going higher and higher, improving the conversion rate is really critical for the business. And then afterwards, they start testing the in-app experiences. If you want to know more about game side and about how to be more successful in Google Play, you have a session tomorrow, 10 a.m. So try not miss it again. And I show you some examples from Netmarble. We have Netmarble's Duke coming in to speak for the event. So you'll be able to hear more about the examples that he can give. Okay, so kind of wrapping all the things that I discussed, I'll share 2 success cases from developers. And this will kind of help you to organize what we have discussed today. Joy City's Game of Dice was success in Hong Kong. Do you remember that I said you have to plan ahead of your strategy? That Game of Dice planned the localization strategy before they launched. So they had a team who could best localize in the local language by including traditional Chinese speaker and simplified Chinese speaker, and having a check and balance process within the localization team. And then they would check the localization level with the Korean team in a processed way so that they don't miss out a single word. And the live ops, they collaborated with Celebrity, that's very popular in the Hong Kong market. And they collaborated with YouTube creators to let the game know in a more familiar way to users. But the importance of A/B testing is here. They thought Celebrity icons would work better than the game character image icons. But when they tested it, actually the game character image worked better in performance. So you have to test and iterate to see what works best for you. They did marketing that makes sense in the local markets. They created webtoons. In the subway, they created engaging videos that explain of the gameplay, and they wrapped buses. And I will show you the Music Matches win in Japan. So truth or myth, honestly, the BDs like us, we thought Japan market is almost impossible to crack in terms of service or content from developers abroad. But Music Match did it. They localized. They even localized the app experience for Japanese users. And what they saw is 300% increase, and they was ranked #1 in music category in Japan. What they did was they personalized to Japanese users, localized deeply of all the things that they can localize in Play. And they did a lot of A/B testing, did analytics from the developer console, and really worked with the local market experts on FGIs and learning more and more of the local market. I told you in the opening session how Google Play is the magical door. And the door is open for all of you. It's open for everyone who wants to go and dive into a new market. We will keep listening to the feedbacks that you have and difficulties that you had going into the global market, and we will make the product better and better for you. You already have a better product that announced this time with more countries that you can test your A/B testing on simultaneously, and of the price roundings that we provide. So keep trying and let us know what works and what doesn't. And we'll try our best to be a better platform for you too. If you have any questions, you can update on the spaces. And since I have 5 minutes left, I may be able to take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. The mic is in the center. If you have a question, you can do this. And I will have my friends BDs from other regions. Raise your hand if you're BD for Korea. There's people who are responsible for these APAC markets. So if you want to connect with us more, find us. We'll be here. Thank you for listening.